What's up, guys? This is St0p from WCReplays.com. Another audio for you guys. This one's copyrighted by WCReplays.com, so don't go stealing it. Um, Brief little introduction to the audio before I get into it. It's an Orc vs. Orc audio commentary. Every single game will be Blademaster vs. Farseer. I wanted to cover the whole matchup, but I realized that was too ambitious to do in one audio. So, Blademaster vs. Farseer. Big disclaimer to start, there are no pro players in any of these games. They're mainly East ladder players or well-known East Orc players. Myself, RE Mosaic, Ice Soul, Arctic Danger, and Dylan's Couch, who's the current rank 1 player. The disclaimer is that none of us are pro, so please don't complain about that. Hopefully you'll still be able to learn from these replays. And the second disclaimer is that I have not asked all of these people if I can do audios on their games, and I apologize in advance for that. I'm too lazy for that. But I mean nothing by these games. Every single one of these players has beaten me, and is capable of beating me if I win. I lose one of the games. None of these games are going to be a comment on the skill of these players, just on the strategies they use, and what you guys out there can do if you're using a Blademaster versus a Farseer or a Farseer versus a Blademaster. That having been said, get game 1 started up. 1 minute mark, 1x speed, Fog of War off, my point of view, and I'll talk a little bit about the matchup while you guys are doing that. This is Tears Fall Glades. It's not my favorite map. It's a ladder map, so ladder players are familiar with it, particularly if you don't want to play like Wetlands and all those other maps that no one wants to play. It's sort of an orc map in that there are 2 fountains of health, so I mean, there are pros to that, I guess, but they're far enough out of the way. The creeps are hard enough that really they're not going to have a huge factor in the game. One thing that orc players do like is that you can item abuse, I guess, by creeping the skeletal marksmen, which are below and above the respective top right and bottom left health fountain camps, and the middle skeletal marksman drops a pretty good item: potion of greater mana, potion of greater healing, potion of greater invulnerability, the roar scroll, or the worst thing you can get is the wand of mana stealing. But those are all pretty good items. I mean, they sell for gold at the very least, or you can get at tier 1, a pretty good potion. So frequently you'll see orc players head straight to those camps, often with an early lounge and a slightly late barracks. It's something I would do against Elf or Undead, for example, on this map. And it's something I figure he might even be doing, which is part of the reason why I go Farseer instead of Blademaster. The other reason is that it's not a really easy level 2. I mean, it is and it isn't. You can creep the Murloc Nightcrawler and then the Skeleton Warrior camp for level 2. The Murloc Night Warrior camp, or Nightcrawler camp rather, has poison damage, which is never good early on. Not so bad on grunts, but definitely with footmen, it's not something you want on you in the early game. And also, it's not possible to get to level 2 before the Farseer comes in to harass, and you'll see that in both games, the first 2 games. So all that having been said, I'm going Farseer. It's an interesting strategy. Don't discount it, even though the pro players don't really use Farseer that often anymore. It's still definitely worth looking into, especially at my level, where playing the Blademaster versus the Farseer is actually very, very difficult, which is why the other 3 games are going to be Blademaster users winning. Enough talking. Let's get this game unpaused. 3, 2, 1, unpause. Okay, so first things to note, obviously I don't have a barracks up. I am fast teching. Delayed barracks. That's kind of, most orc players are familiar with this build. The standard for a fast tech is actually Firelord second, but I choose not to get the Firelord second, and I'll explain that choice as well later on. Looking at his base build, it's obviously a standard Blademaster build or standard orc build, whatever you want to call it, 2 grunt tech. The one thing I draw your attention to is the altar scout peon that's currently next to the tavern going up to my base. So many players neglect to scout, and that can be absolutely crippling in Orc Mirror. In all of the matchups, it's a terrible idea not to scout, and it's always worth it. Even if 9 times out of 10 you can assume cookie cut from, for example, a human or elf, you still want to scout, particularly on ladder, because you never know what's coming, and also because he scouts, he knows earlier on that I'm going Farseer, and part of the Blademaster strategy to stopping Farseer is putting some kind of a harass on my wood peons or my gold peons or my Farseer. One or all, ideally, of those 3 to slow down my Firelord push, which is the main concern of Icesoul right now, the Firelord push. Anyways, he heads to creep. Interestingly, he creeps the Skeleton Warrior camp first. I guess he was thinking to get the Toman go, but he ditches that idea once he realized, I guess, that I was fast-teching. And he heads after my Farseer. It's going to look like I have map hack here, because you're going to see my Farseer following the Windwalk Blade Master. But I know what his goal is, and that's to harass my base, which is why I'm running in that direction. And I'm having the wolves do whatever damage they can to the grunt, which isn't going to be very much, but still nonetheless worthwhile. With the Farseer right now, I'm playing a waiting game. It's fine if he chases me, because he's not creeping, and it's fine if I don't creep, because I'm going to be pushing with better units sooner than he can push me. Notice my third burrow going up pretty early, much earlier than I need it. That's just so it doesn't get cancelled. It's a pain to have that cancelled and have to constantly rebuild it with a Blade Master when walking in your base. Next up, I head to the shop, or I guess I'm heading back to his base, and he heads to the shop. The weird thing he does here is he buys the Dust of Appearance. That's smart if he was going to go back to harass my base, because that way I have no way of revealing him. But it turns out that instead of going back to my base to harass, he heads off to creep, which I think means he should sell the dust. And even at this point, possibly his town portal, because he knows he's going to be fighting in his base, not anywhere else. Something I would do. But note that he buys the Boots of Speed, very key. It helps increase the Blade Master's damage per second DPS when he's chasing the Farseer around the map, which you can imagine he'll be doing a lot of. Looking back at my base, my tech's completing just now, whereas his is less than 50%. So you're going to see I'm going to have a second hero for a considerably longer time than he will have a second hero. And my tier 2 buildings will be out considerably earlier. I make a mistake here and let the wolf die. If you're the Farseer user, you have to be much more careful with the wolves. They give 30 experience each, which is a ton of experience. And the last thing I want is this Blade Master getting a ton of experience. So, anyways, I was overcautious about taking damage on my Farseer, which I did not want to do. Because if you look at my base, I don't have a Voodoo Lounge up. Part of the reason I don't have a Voodoo Lounge up is because I know that there are fountains of healing, and that, frankly, that's going to be my main resort if I have to heal, is the Fountain of Healing. So again, what I'm doing now is just playing a waiting game. I'm stalling him as long as I can, in the interests of not allowing him to creep. If he doesn't have Critical Strike, then the Blade Master is really, he still does very good damage, don't get me wrong, but Critical Strike is where it starts, because he's got very limited mana right now. Excuse me. Notice also I have currently no experience on either hero. Not a big deal though. Notice I went Shadowhunter second and not Firelord, and I feel by the fact that he's being very cautious with his creeping and that he sent his Blade Master to the tavern, he was expecting a Firelord. The reason for that, I'm going to explain now. If you look at my base, you'll see dual Bestiary going up. He never harassed my wood very well, so I had enough wood for a second hero and 2 Bestiaries. The whole strength of this strategy is going to be in its massive damage output, which is going to allow me to push him very easily. Notice he's at level 1 on the Blade Master. He's got 550 health, and right now he has no mana. I should have been blocking with the Shadowhunter there to get the kill. But you can see the Blade Master is very, very vulnerable right now to Hex and to some grunt focus. And as you're going to see, because I went dual Bestiary, I'm going to have Ensnare as quickly as the first Raider comes out. It's very, very fast Ensnare, which means I'm also going to have Raiders faster because I went dual Bestiary. So that Blade Master, without a lot of potions, is not going to be a problem to kill. It'll die very, very quickly, which is kind of the whole strength of the strategy. So after I have a second Raider building now, it's about to finish, and now I'm transitioning to Kodo Beasts. Reason for that being, they take away a unit, and they have 1000 HP. It's not so much their damage, it's just the fact that they have Devour, and I know that his army is going to be probably 3 to 4 grunts. Right now he has 3 for some reason. I don't know why he... Oh yeah, because he built an earlier War Mill, which is a smart thing to do against Farseer, because you're afraid of the tier 2 tower push. So that's why he has 1 less grunt. So you're going to see I have I'm going to have 2 Kodos very soon to his 3 grunts. So obviously that's a pretty big advantage on my part. Also, I'm creeping. A big advantage to this strategy is how quickly I have an effective army compared to him. and my army with the wolves and the hex actually creeps a lot better than his army did until just about now. Now he could probably keep up with me in creeping. But unfortunately for him,